Hello, my name's Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding our passage through this challenging and very hopeful time. And this is the weekly neutrino forecast for March 2nd to March 8th of 2014. Human design is based on 4 ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understanding our potential to discover our path into making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. And those traditions of astrology and the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. And the way these systems work together is we look at the sun and the planets and the wheel, just like we would in astrology. Right here we can see that we have the sun. It's in Pisces, and it's in the 63rd hexagram, which is denoted as yang, yin, yang, yin, yang, yin. What we do is instead of in astrology, we would look at them as they relate to the zodiological constellations or to each other by the angles that they make, but instead we look at them as they relate to the hexagrams of the I Ching, which are then mapped to specific locations in the body graph. And on March 2nd, we do have, like I said, we have the sun in Pisces in the 63rd hexagram, which is located up here coming out of the head center in a collective logic gate. So basically the shapes inside the graph represent the next stage in our evolution as human beings, from having 7 chakras to now having 9 centers. The pathways between each of the centers are called channels, and they come from the Kabbalah. And these black pieces of paper on here, they represent gates that are being activated by the sun, the planets, the nodes, regardless of whether they form a channel. I'm not going to be covering the moon in this demonstration. It moves very, very quickly and activates 3 to 4 gates in a single day. The sun in the 63rd hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate, and the 63rd gate is the gate of doubt. It's called after completion. In the spiral of life, all ends are beginnings. It's located in the head center, again in a logical collective energy path in the understanding circuit. This is called the channel of logic and connects down to the 4 in the Ajna center. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate, and it's really the primary tool I use when I provide readings, specifically if I want to talk about who the person is. I think human design is just amazing for talking about the actual person. We have the following hanging gates or potentials on March 2nd. Like I said, we've got the sun in the 63. The Earth is in the 64. The North Node and Mars are both in the 50. The South Node is in the 3. Mercury is in the 13th gate, and Venus is in the 60th gate. And we have Jupiter in the 39, Saturn in the 43, Uranus in the 21, Neptune in the 55, and Pluto is over here in the 38. So not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can really be helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits are going to form channels with the potentials in your body graph, or in this case, if you didn't have a root or you didn't have a solar plexus, those are actually activated by the transit, and so that's going to change your experience, because if you don't normally have those things, and then the transit provides them, it colors our world. This is what we refer to as conditioning in human design. And so the best way to use this is if you know your own chart, you can look at it and think about how this can be affecting you. You can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com you click on the button that says get your free rave chart, and then you just enter in your birth information. So all week, and we've had this for quite a while, we've had Jupiter in the 39 and Neptune in the 55. This has brought us this channel of emoting. It's going to be with us until March 14th. This is a good time period. This is a time period when people feel the pressure in the form of an emotional wave coming out of this pressure center, the root center, and connecting up to the emotional center, the solar plexus. The best way to deal with this level of sensitivity is to appreciate the lows as well as the highs. Recognize that it's all part of our human experience, and it's temporary for those of us who don't have this channel in our birth charts. This can bring lessons that yield wisdom as long as we stay present in moving from hope to despair, back to hope, back to despair. You know, that's what the wave is going. And we can tap into much greater creativity by using the fuel of melancholy. Both these defined channels we have here are individual channels, so they bring this kind of blue feeling. And the best thing to do with that blue melancholy feeling is channel it into some form of artistic expression. And it's whatever's artistic to you. This also brings deeply romantic and acoustic sensitivity, so listening to music or talking to a loved one is favored. We also have the channel of mutation down here with Venus in the 60 and the South Node in the 3, and this is going to be here for the week. It moves on March 8th. And this is a design of energy that initiates and fluctuates, a pulse, and is what you get with the channel mutation. The definition brings up unexpected quantum leaps that something new comes into the world, even if we're really physically present in the experience. This is about evolution that comes through radical change. It brings pressure to change the way things are done, but because it operates as a pulse, the timing is usually unpredictable. You can't predict when all of a sudden there's going to be a surge of evolutionary energy. So this may be a time period where folks could unexpectedly change their whole direction in life, which could turn into a ripple effect on the others in their circle. Because then it forces them to grow and adapt to this shifting landscape in their relationship, which will ultimately lead to empowerment, because, again, both of these are individual channels. They're both about empowering us. This is like the channel of emoting being individual, again, acoustic, having this quality of melancholy, but it also brings the sacral definition, okay? So for non-sacral types, projectors, manifestors, reflectors, it's paramount that those people really follow their strategy and authority. This transit, we're likely to see people moving from order to chaos and back again with the channel of mutation. With sacral definition, it could be deeply frustrating as we experience instability, potential darkness, the tension of feeling stuck. So staying present in the now, following your strategy and authority could lead you to feeling as though you emerge after this as a fresh new person through riding the pulse in this week ahead. March 2nd, with the sun's exalted in the 63 in the first line of the investigator. It's the quality of personality where achievement is accepted with equanimity, and where continued development is allowed to take its natural course. Acceptance of achievement, but doubt whether continued development will take place. The theme of a first line day is fear. And it's a fear, you know, the investigator gets triggered by fear, so it has to investigate. So first line days are days to study. They're not days to act. Days to look into things and not jump. A good day to deal with things that you don't understand, to make sense of, or or don't know, just try to, investigate. And when you investigate, you'll find that any anxiety, any fear will get alleviated somewhat by just the process of investigation. That's what I'm a first line person, so that's my experience of it. And then the sun changes lines on the second. It moves into the second line of the 63rd hexagram, and this occurs at 6:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All the times I'm going to give you are Eastern Time, so you need to convert them to your local time zone. The sun in the 63-2 is keynoted as structuring. Exalted is the establishment of a large framework through achievement that can be expanded and shared, compensating others for their contributions while maintaining the control of direction. It's the pressure to share one's doubts with others while still maintaining control. Detrimented is instability in achievement, that when positions of authority in positions of authority leads to arrogance and the desire to keep others away from the center of power. Doubts in achievement that can lead to suspicions of others. And then second line days, everybody's waiting for someone, waiting for the call. People are kind of get stuck in their own trip, because remember, second line, like first line and third line, are all lower. They're more personal. So it's not a great day to have a party, because nobody's going to come to your party if they're all, at home, being hermits. And then on the third, the sun moves into the third line. So it moves up into the line of the martyr. Again, we're still in the 63rd hexagram. This occurs at 5:07 p.m. again, Eastern Standard Time, which is continuance. Exalted is the dedication to a new beginning that insists on maintaining its achieved principles despite having to interact with those who have not attained such a state. Doubts that one can maintain one's principle when interacting with others. Detrimented, it's success at any price, the pressure to eliminate doubt at any cost. Third line days are days to really be careful on the road, be careful of swinging doors, just be careful of, be conscious of what's happening in your environment as best you can, because a third line day is about trial and error, and things bump into you on third line days. It's a good material day. It's a good day to do business and work on the material plane, but you have to also be careful because things can go wrong. But the things that go wrong do lead towards discovery. That's the purpose of the third line. Trial and error is that it leads to a level of discovery. And then on the fourth, the sun moves into the fourth line of the 63. So now we've moved into the upper trigram, the more transpersonal aspects. The movement into the fourth line is at 3:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where the sun is described as memory. The line is described as memory, where the sun is. When it's exalted, it's the detailed accounting of achievement process whose information base can prepare a new order for the future. The pressure to explore doubt in detail as a foundation for eventually formalizing. Detrimented, it's a willingness to forget in the glow of victory, with a possible price that actually has to be paid later. It's the pressure and risk to forget the details when the doubts have been answered. And fourth line change from that inward perspective that we have in the lower trigram to the outward perspective that we have in the upper trigram. The fourth line, it takes the perspective of looking around. It's got themes of friendship and companionship, of networking. It's great for social interactions. People are more open to networking, being friendly and social. And you know, when I think about Ra talking about the lines, he actually said that when the lines are shifting, that when we're looking at the day of the shifting line values, that we can take always take advantage of the themes of the day if you know what the theme is. So some people are just going to be conditioned by this. Other people will realize that, yeah, geez, you know, I got this important a meeting to have. Maybe I should schedule it on a fourth line day, or I'm going to be releasing something that I hope it impacts a lot of people. It can be universalized. Maybe that should be on a fifth line day. So you know, also on March 4th, Mercury, which is newly direct, it moves from the 13 to the 49. So we'll give it a little bigger piece here. So it's moving from the listener to the revolution as it now starts to go through all these gates that it went through prior, and then retrograded, moved backwards through them, and now it's moving forward again. Anyway, Mercury is the messenger of the god. It's communication, it's expansion of human consciousness through communications, not just as words, but also through music. So what do we need to communicate in this life? Well, what we do when you look at your own rave chart is we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. So the 49 is revolution. It's the gate of principles. Ideally, it's the transformation that's based on the highest principles, not simply just for power. People will probably be communicating about redistribution of resources to support the tribe, because it's a tribal gate. Being newly moved forward from our perspective here on the sun, Mercury comes in and enters on the first line because it's moving it direct. And the first line is the law of necessity. Revolution has no support unless it's perceived as necessary. Exalted is understanding and the application of this law to maximize the expansion and support, and therefore by viability, the awareness that the potential of a principle is based on it being accepted as viable. Detrimented, it's the misuse of influence, the insistence that necessity can be created out of actions. It's the helter-skelter syndrome, to commit acts of disorder as proof that disorder exists. It's oversensitivity to rejection that can turn a principle into a crusade. And then the fifth, the sun moves into the fifth line. Again, it's of the 63rd hexagram. It's up here. This is the heretical line. The shift into the fifth line occurs at 2:01 p.m. again, Eastern Standard Time. The sun's exalted in the 63.5 and is described as affirmation. And the exaltation of it is the authority and sincerity of purpose to pursue the same values in the new beginning that had allowed it to transcend the old. It's an understanding that doubts are necessary and of value. The fifth line day is heretical. It's a day of suspicion, but it's also a day of universalization. Something can leak out and spread very rapidly like a virus. YouTube videos where there's suddenly, millions of views. There's a great deal of suspicion and paranoia with the fifth line day, as with fifth line people, which impacts the nature of relationship. This is fifth lines get a projection on them. First it's positive and then it's negative. First they'd be great. They could totally do that. That's the perfect person for it. And then if they don't do it, can't do it, don't want to do it, whatever, they don't meet the expectation, then they get punished. People say fifth lines are paranoid. I think it's not paranoia if they're really out to get you. Anyway, it's also fifth lines are about seduction. So, you know, like I said, look at the energy. The energy of the day doesn't have to just condition you. You can look at it and use it in your life and to your betterment. Okay, and that's the reason for these reports. On the 6th, the sun moves into the 6th line of the 63rd hexagram. So now it's up here on the roof. It's in the role model. You know, and that transit happens, it moves into that 6th line at 12:29 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 63.6 is it's nostalgia. It's exalted is a good sense to avoid turning the previous struggle into an obsession. You know, just knowing that there was a struggle, we don't have to get obsessed with it. You know, it's the logic of leaving our doubts behind. It's the 6th line. It's looking on towards the next hexagram. It's not going to get, you know, caught up in the doubts as much. But detrimentin, it's revolutionary nostalgia. It's a logic and the potential obsession with old suspicions and doubt. And like I said, 6 line days, not to get stuck in your head, you know, because it's up here, it's at the top. It's not even looking at this hexagram. It's looking at everything else in the circuit. It's looking at everything else in the neighborhood by sitting on the roof. You know, and what happens on 6 line days is people get stuck up in their head. They get stuck and they're just moving through with their head in the clouds. And then all of a sudden, bam, something bangs right into their kneecaps. It's a day where there's a real lack of focus on what's going around you. And like the 3rd line day, there can be certain dangers of like not seeing a car coming or not being aware that there was a bill coming that you just hadn't considered. And then on the 7th, the sun moves out of the 63. The earth moves out of the 64. And the sun goes into the 22, which is grace. We'll just stick there, and the earth moves into the 47, which is oppression. There we go. All right. So, and this shift happens at 10:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 22nd gate it's the gate of openness, grace, a quality of behavior best suited for handling mundane and trivial situations. It of course it comes in the first line of the 22. This is the second class ticket. Exalted is the ability to accept and enjoy a subordinate position, the emotional awareness to enjoy a subordinate position. Detrimentin, it's the inevitable humiliation that comes with claiming a first-class seat with a second-class ticket. It's where the emotional energy challenges the awareness and can result in humiliation socially. The first, second, and third line days, again, people get absorbed in their own process. Again, so we've talked about this earlier. The first line day, it's got that theme of fear, and the fear triggers the need to investigate. So again, any first line day is a good day to study something that you don't know and gain more knowledge in it. And then on the 8th, the sun moves into the second line of the 22nd hexagram, and this happens at 9:27 a.m. again Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 22-2 is exalted. It's keynoted as charm school, the belief that style can mask nature. Exalted is the ability to successfully delude oneself and others, the ability to attract with an emotional style. Second line days, again, we got people are waiting for things. They're waiting for a call. They're waiting to they're home. They're being hermits and waiting for someone to notice that they have a natural talent. And then it's not the best day to be out networking, let's say. On the 8th, also on the 8th, the Venus moves, and it moves out of the 60, which means that this definition of the sacral goes away, and it moves into the 41. And I've talked about Venus before. In human design, Venus is a little bit different than it is in astrology. Ra talks about it being very powerful, deeply misunderstood. And Venus, he talks about being, brings morality. It brings a natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. So the question is, what disturbs you on a moral level? And if you look at your design and personality Venuses in your chart, it really plays out what is the moral dilemma you're going to work out in life. And and if you're not really acting with moral clarity, Venus can really treat you badly. In the 41, Venus is about the morality of contraction, decrease, the limitation of resources, which maximizes the development of potential. And if you recall back in January, we were talking about the sun in the 41 as bringing in the rave new year. So now it's activating that same point where the rave new year began. Venus in the first line of the 41 is reasonableness, the appropriate delegation of responsibility. Exalted, it's the imagination to make the best out of very little. Coolness, where the energy to release feelings is selective. Detrimented, it's a tendency in understanding to assume capability, leading to strain. It's called the hothead, the urge to release feelings. Because what we're looking at pressure for emotional. I've been talking about the God's heads. We're still, in going through the 37, the 63, the 22, and the 36, which are all the gates that are associated with Mitra or Mitra. So again, it's about where the quarter of initiation, beginning something new. This is about an agreement that we have. The 37 is the gate of friendship, which is interesting because that's what the Mitra comes from, a noun which in Sanskrit is friendship. But it's also about a covenant, a treaty, an agreement. So this is and it's really about an agreement of, now that we're in a material form, we're in a body. Am I going to get what I need in life? Is the basic question of this period of time. Basically, that's what we've got for this report. I'll be going into a lot more details about these things and the God's heads and all that in future reports. If you really want to know that particular God's head, go back to the previous report. I did a much more thorough job with it. So the thing is, no matter how all these energies are conditioning you during the first week of March, just take some time to be conscious. Be the passenger in the back seat, and by being conscious and taking it in, whether you're in the flow of the planet by watching a sunrise or sunset, or communing with stars, or being conscious of the moment through introspection, meditation, being present with somebody you love. The thing that I get from human design is just really to recognize that every single day is a blessing. No matter what dramas are coming up. I mean, we're all here just doing our best to give the performance of a lifetime on the world stage. So, but I think it's important to remember that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. So take some time out to, watch the play as well as act your part in it. So anyway, thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast is going to be for March 9th of 2014. It should be available on the 8th or even before, when we're going to continue to look at the influences of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook or YouTube, and I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. I'll be discussing the transits of April and providing actually March, because March 2014, and providing some short human design readings to the Earth Needs Rebels show on Orion Talk Radio on Monday, March 3rd. The show is from 1:30 to 3. You're certainly welcome to. There's a chat space where you can contact Katie and get her your information. They'll call you for free anywhere on the planet if you want to participate in the show, get a reading, ask some questions about the material, whatever it is that's going to help it be a more meaningful experience for you. I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to either be able to call me in Maine, or we can connect on Skype. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. Again, newworldbirth@yahoo.com. If you want to make a donation, I'll explain I'll send you information about that. But, one of the best ways to make a donation is get a reading. As always, I'm deeply blessed that you've taken the time out to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey in this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste and Lakesh. And as Ra was very fond of saying, love yourself. Peace, everybody.